Hey everybody, what is up? The stream just like stuttered for a second, so I just want to make sure everything's cool. Seems cool. Okay. How is everyone doing? What's going on? Hey folks, it's Tuesday. I feel like we missed streaming last week. We're back this week for more streaming, and there's a dog, and it's barking. It's barking outside my apartment, and I personally don't care for it. Hey David, what's up? How you doing, sir? Thanks for coming. Welcome everybody. It's the adventure prep stream. I have not done one of these in a while. I find they're kind of tricky because they're really good for brainstorming, but they aren't great for actually doing the nuts and bolts work that I need to do, of just like typing the stuff out. So I find that they're a little bit tricky to pick the right campaigns and the right sessions that I need to do them for. I find when I'm doing an adaptation of, when I'm adapting a published adventure, that's actually the best, because then I can just go and read it and we can kind of process it. But when I'm actually trying to prepare, if I have like a session tomorrow, then it's not very good because I still have to spend the time to then like synthesize the stuff we talk about. So today we are gratefully doing the former. We are going to look at one of the chapters in Storm King's Thunder for my campaign, The North Trembles, and we're going to try to modify it, adapt it, see what we like, see what we don't like, for the purposes of my upcoming session. It's on Friday, so I will have some time to kind of putz with it. But here is basically what we're going to do. We are going to read Chapter 7, which is called Burg of the Frost Giants, and it's one of the 5 different giant lairs that you can go and visit. In my campaign, of course, I have adapted them all, because why choose, right? Why not have it be as epic as possible? But I've recontextualized the reason that they're going to these places in each case. So, they went to Grudhaug, which is the hill giant steading, more or less because the town of Goldenfields was attacked by them and they wanted to go chase them down. They went to the stone giant canyon of Deadstone Cleft because it was once a sacred site to the river goddess, and one of the characters' cleric mentors wanted to go there on sort of a final pilgrimage. And they are coming here to Svardborg, the Burg of the Frost Giants, because they have made friends with one of the NPCs in Storm King's Thunder, Harshnag the Grim. Harshnag is meant to be, I believe, like a friendly NPC in the adventure as written, but his role has changed substantially in my version. So, in my version, Harshnag was once the Jarl of Svardborg, basically the king, like the chieftain, and he was usurped by the current villain, Jarl Storvald. Now, I have done like a very, very brief cursory skim through of the kind of the premise of this stuff, so I picked out the names and some of the details, but I don't know too many of the specifics. So in my version, Storvald challenged Harshnag to a holmgang, basically a duel, to determine who would lead the Frost Giant clan. And Storvald won, but Harshnag believes that he won because he used a magic item, a white ring, which I know to be the Ring of Winter, but the characters have not yet learned that. So Harshnag was exiled and fled, and went to go see a Volva or a Cirrus, who I called the Eye of the Allfather after the location in the adventure. And the Eye of the Allfather told him that a man with a white knife, basically a description of the party's monk, would be the one who would help him reclaim his throne, but in doing so, it would claim the life of one of the 3 closest to his heart. The party, of course, assumes that this is one of the 3 of them, the wizard, the cleric, or the fighter. But the secret, of course, is that the monk's father, Lanoy, recently died, as a chain reaction result of a bunch of events I won't go into right now, but the party just doesn't know it yet. So that part of the prophecy has already been fulfilled. They just don't realize it yet. And so Harshnag offered to help them with the hill giants. In exchange, they would follow Harshnag up north to help him reclaim his throne. And they are finally in the process of doing that. Harshnag has a warburg, basically an iceberg they can sail like a ship, and they're sailing it north, headed for the Burg of the Frost Giants, to reclaim their throne. And that is about the extent of what I know. I know that there are barbarian tribes that have allied themselves with the Frost Giants. There are usually barbarian tribes in this campaign who are kind of enthralled to various giants. I've done the blue bear barbarians who were enthralled to the hill giants and the red tigers, and now I think I'm going to do the white whales to get kind of a Nordic sea whaler sort of a vibe. So as they go sailing north, I guess there's two more things that I can say here. There are two potential encounters. Two potential encounters could happen as they voyage north. They voyage north. David says he didn't go to the iceberg, but it sounded fun. Remind me which one you went to, David. I know you told me, and I forgot. Was it the fire giants? The cloud giants? I don't remember. A white whale longship with a trained yeti, or quick ice freezing the iceberg, forcing them to walk on foot. Quick ice is something that's in my homebrew world on Dune, and I'm just adapting here basically just like the sea suddenly freezes, right? And does not unfreeze for some time. So yeah, we're just going to read. I'm going to see what I like, what I don't like. The one thing that the only idea I have in my head right now, beyond the fact that Storvald already has the ring, which I think in this he's seeking it, is that he's not there presently, right? That he's like off raiding and then comes back. So let's read. From their icy fortress of Svardborg, Jarl Storvald and his frost giants strike out in their ships in search of the Ring of Winter, an artifact they can use to bring about the Age of Everlasting Ice. Although they're far from reaching that goal, the frost giants pose a terrible threat to the north. In this part of their mission, the characters confront this threat head-on. They don't need to obtain the conch of teleportation. The good news is that things could be worse. The bad news is that they soon will be. When the adventurers first arrive at Svardborg, Jarl Storvald isn't there. He's aboard the Krigvind, his flagship, hunting whales in the sea of moving ice. Okay, cool, that works great. Krigvind. Interesting. Vind is definitely wind in Old Norse. I wonder what Krieg is meant to be. As the characters search for his conch, the Krigvind and its giants are on their way back. That's actually perfect. David says, the hill giants. And then in the prologue, the monk rogue went to the fire giants who killed his master, and the cleric went to the iceberg to make peace. Yeah, so you kind of got to dip in a little bit to all of them, right? Like, it makes sense. Reclaiming Svardborg. When Anam, I always hated that name. I just do Ymir. The Allfather shattered the ordning. Jarl Storvald and his frost giants set sail in the enormous ship called the Krigvind to reclaim Svardborg, a circle of immense lodges built atop an iceberg in the sea of moving ice. In Svardborg's Temple of Thrym, the giants found 7 white dragon eggs. Shortly after the giants seized the eggs, a mated pair of adult white dragons, Cryovane and Isendraug. Yeah, very Isendraug, very Nordic. Cryovane, whatever, but Isendraug returned from a hunt and demanded that the giants relinquish their offspring. Storvald threatened to destroy the unhatched wormlings unless Cryovane and Isendraug submitted to his will. The dim-witted white dragons conceded and were subdued. The giants confined Isendraug to her lair in the temple, and Cryovane was chained to the deck of the Krigvind. Yikes. After enslaving the dragons, the giants stumbled upon a tribe of Northlander barbarians living on the ice floes in the Sea of Moving Ice and conquered them as well. The North folk were transported to Svardborg and tasked with repairing the Frost Giants' lodges and freeing several great ships, giant-sized longships entombed in the ice. These barbarians respect the might of the Frost Giants, and being evil themselves, of course, serve the giants without protest. The barbarians speak Yeti as well as Giant and have several enslaved Yetis working. Boy, it's like slaves on slaves on slaves. I don't love that. The Frost Giants and the Yetis don't share a language. The Giants rely on the barbarians to command the Yetis. Okay. So Svardborg history. Most of that I think is fine. Maybe it's the ring. The Ring of Winter in Storvald's possession has bent Cryovane and Isendraug to his will. They've recently produced a clutch of eggs. Storvald means to train them as his personal guards. And this is personal dragons, yeah. That's fine. The white whales serve the frost giants. out of respect for their strength and whale hunting skill. Yeah, they're not evil, they just see them as a source of food. Svartborg general features is an iceberg with several giant-sized lodges situated in a ring on it. 3 of the lodges are entombed in ice. The remainder are partially exposed. All the lodges have a thick layer of ice on them, indicated by the pale blue ring on the map. The hollow heart of Svartborg is a flooded ice cavern that is open to the sky, where the frost giants moor their enormous ships. Ceilings, 40 feet high, climbing, cold weather, doors. Svartborg's doors are 25 feet tall and made of thick wood, with handles positioned 11 feet above the floor. A huge giant has no trouble opening one. A smaller creature can attempt to open a door, provided the creature or some other helpful creature can reach the door's handle and unlatch it. While the handle is unlatched, a creature must use an action to push or pull the heavy door, opening with a successful DC 13 strength athletics check. That's actually pretty low for a 25-foot door made of thick wood. Oversized furnishings and objects. Size for frost giants. Exceptions noted in the text. Staircases within Svartborg, size for frost giants. Vessels. Frost giants use 2 types of ships, great ships and punts. These vehicles are made of frost-covered wood and have sails made from dragon wings. When not in use, the ships are anchored and their sails are lowered. Great ships are long ships, size for frost giants. A typical great ship is 240 feet from bow to stern and requires a crew of at least 10 creatures that are large or bigger. Punts are keel boats, size for frost giants. Each is roughly the size of a human-scale longship. A single giant can steer a punt, and a crew of 8 small or medium humanoids can operate one as well. Okay, sure. So that's kind of the longship then that my white whales are going to use. Alright. What do they have to say about the Ring of Winter? It's rune magic to divine how best to find the Ring of Winter. The frost giants call the ice that never melts. The runes that told Storvald that help would come to him after he staged a series of raids on coastal communities. He sent ships to attack sites along the stored coast, including a raid on Port Lost. The giants captured a Centaur mage. Okay. Milround was dragged before Storvald and came to realize that the frost giants were searching for the Ring of Winter. As the runes had foretold, Milround was also searching for the ring and knew about its recent history. Suggested, but this is all assuming he's found him. An alliance between Jarl Storvald and Black Network. Who cares? Artist Simber. Jesus. This is what I don't understand, is that, like, none of this is relevant to Storm King's Thunder. Like, it's definitely not relevant to my campaign, but it's also not really relevant to the actual, like, Artist Simber shows up in Tomb of Annihilation, right? And even then, like, the Ring of Winter is very tangential to that adventure as well. Okay. So he's already got it. He's already got it. What is he using it for? Jarl Storvald has the Ring of Winter and is using it to expand his hold over the sea of moving ice. He's currently raiding along the coast of Icewind Dale and is likely to return, probably with captives, anytime soon. The characters have reason. This is true. I should have made this point too. The characters have reason to believe that the cleric's family is still alive and living in the Icewind Dale town, living in 10 towns. Perhaps Storvald captures their family during his raids. I don't think it has to be any more complicated than just like he's trying to expand his power. I mean, I think that's fine. There's enough complication going on as it is. In an age when the giants ruled the north, Svartborg was a remote village where frost giants came to hunt whales and giant walruses. It was abandoned after the Empire of Astoria fell and over time drifted northward and became entombed in ice. It floats amid hundreds of other icebergs in the sea of moving ice. 3 of the lodges are still entombed in ice, while the others have been chipped out of the ice and rendered habitable. Boy, they really like to say ice. The expansion and contraction of ice over the centuries damaged the lodges, and repairs to them are underway. Jarl Storvald to send ships to the mainland to gather the wood needed to make repairs. The lodges are perched on sheer cliffs of ice that plunge 50 feet into the sea. The cliffs are only 10 feet high near the dry dock lodge, where the giants have built a wooden pier for docking their punts. A wide cleft in the iceberg offers access to Svardborg's hollow heart, a water-filled chamber open to the sky where the giants moor their great ships. Stretched across the passage is a gate in the form of a net of thick iron chains. The giants lower the chains into the water to let the ships pass through. A small vessel, such as a rowboat sized for humans, can slip through the net even when the gate is raised. Ships bigger than a rowboat are too large to pass through the gate when it is raised. Okay. So, I didn't worry about them reaching it. They found it already. But they're going to find it. Approaching it. Svardborg is so isolated that the Frost Giants don't bother posting lookouts. Their lack of vigilance makes it easy to approach the iceberg unseen. They are approaching by water and tether their vessels up to the 10-foot-high wooden docks south of the dry dock lodge, or they can avoid the docks and scale one of Svardborg's 50-foot icy cliffs, tying their boat to a spike hammered into the cliff face. If the characters enter the hollow interior of the iceberg, they risk being spotted by the creatures on the great ships. The gate is up, but the characters can maneuver their rowboat to the gap between its thick chains. So they don't have a rowboat, they just have the iceberg, so they will have to overcome that problem. When the characters first arrive, most of Svardborg's Frost Giants are out hunting whales aboard Storvald's flagship. A few giants have stayed behind to guard the white dragon eggs and watch over the Northlander barbarians and yetis. Also present in Svardborg is Isendraug, a female adult white dragon who desperately wants her eggs back, and Nilround Dalarost, an evil Zentaran mage who is plotting with Jarl Storvald to find the Ring of Winter. Characters who interrogate Nilround can learn where Storvald is and what the Frost Giants are up to. The Giants' Lodge has a warning horn on the upper floor. So I don't know about Nilround. He just isn't interesting to me. Don't know why I need that guy. I mean, I guess there's a question of where did Storvald get the ring from? You know, like maybe some explorer had it and he found him and took it. Yeah, what if Nilround is like a Netherese mage? He's like some ancient dude. Storvald found the Ring of Winter while out hunting on the finger of a frozen Netherese mage named Nilround. Kraken Society? Yeah, I don't really have the Kraken Society in here. I mainly have the Cult of the Dragon. Is kind of my bad guy that's working with Imrith. Yeah, I haven't got, like, I like the idea of the Kraken Society, but I haven't, like, figured out where they go. So much of the campaign is now kind of circling around Tiamat, which I'm sort of ambivalent about. Like, it just kind of happened, and now it's sort of, I can't avoid it. Like, my version of Imrith, because I find Imrith in the book has no clear motivation beyond just, like, chaos. So I'm doing a kind of lifted something from Tyranny of Dragons, and she's trying to raise Tiamat, right? That's a great question, David. I'm not sure. I mean, Imrith is definitely behind it, so I would assume it would have been the Cult of the Dragon. David asks, not to go too far forward, but who kidnapped the king? I would assume that it's functionally the Cult of the Dragon, that, like, the Kraken Society I have swapped out with the Cult of the Dragon, because my end goal is ultimately Tiamat, right? But I am worried that when I get to that stage, that's going to be a big mess, because it's not quite going to make sense, you know? So, like, I feel you. I definitely am, like, there's a tension in me for sure about, like, is all this stuff going to time out? The party just met Imrith in her Storm Giant disguise, but they didn't figure out who she was. They had, like, a big fight. Harshnag almost died. They almost died, and they just barely managed to escape the Eye of the Allfather, which is basically what's scripted, but mine was, again, a little bit different. So it's the Cult of the Dragon that kidnapped him, but how exactly, I don't know. I'll probably still preserve the ship thing. I don't really know much of the details, because I'm just laying the tracks ahead. But I don't see a reason that the Cult of the Dragon would want to give the Ring of Winter to Storvald, because it would just make the giant more powerful, right? So I think I'm going to have him have found it. And I like the idea of him, like, keeping he kept the mage partially frozen in ice. and occasionally ask some questions about how the ring works. Yeah. So it's like there is a guy here who knows about it, but he's kind of being interrogated by the giants. Okay, cool. So here's the roster. We've got some ice methods. We've got the wizard. We've got 2 frost giants, 2 winter wolves. We've got a giant owl. How many frost giants total are currently here? That's 2, 5, 7, 8. 8 frost giants. That's a lot of frost giants. I wonder what level they're supposed to be, because that seems very difficult to fight, if I'm honest. They have Harshnag with them, but that's a lot of frost giants, you know. David says, I also think some tweaks are needed once they get to the court if they fought Imrith in her giant form. Yeah, probably there are. I kind of liked the idea of them knowing and trying to get the giants to listen to them, but I haven't even gotten to that chapter, so that may be completely impossible. I really don't know. I'm just trying to stay one step ahead, right? Because yeah, you had been the first one to kind of inform me that some of the plot is a little thin in places in this one. Okay, it's a lot of frost giants. We might have to reduce the number of frost giants there are. Okay, we'll see as we go through, because that's a lot for them to handle. I wish they would tell me like what, I'm sure they'd say it somewhere, but I wish they would like be a little bit more explicit about what level the characters are supposed to be when they do this. But yeah, who knows? Very high, seemingly. Okay. So number 1, Jarl's Lodge. It's this first one by the chain. Okay, so here's the chain. I see. There are 3 ships there currently. There's a submerged tunnel, and then it goes 1, 2, 3. Well, that's confusing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why would you order it this way? 6. 7. Oh, that's so stupid. Oh, I hate that. Oh, those are 9. Okay, 6 is here. So it's like the bottom one. It's like south, south, southwest, southeast, northeast, west. What? West, and then like east by southeast, and then north, and then northeast again, and then the center. That's why wouldn't you just do it in the clockwise order? That's so annoying. I hate it. Okay, let's read these. Jarl's Lodge. David says, they're malleable enough, which I think is good. But I do wish the plotting of Imrith were clearer, so I could have tied the different factions in better. It was hard to foreshadow. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think that's a big problem I think they have with their writing, is that they like to bury important information. Like, I want you to, in the first 10 pages, lay out the entire plot. I want to know all of the ins and outs, so that way when I'm improvising, I kind of know what my villains are up to. Like, Well Beyond the Witchlight is, I think, the worst example of that, where, like, boy, I have no idea what's happening in that story, even as I'm reading it. You know, you have to, like, you'll read a little bit, and like, oh, this is what the unicorn's horn is. Like, oh, that would have been great to know 10 sessions ago, but oh well. Okay, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about this lodge. The Restore Lodge is partially buried under ice, but has numerous entrances. Steps ascend to the main doors. A tunnel cuts through the ice. Client can reach a balcony on the 2nd floor or a gaping window on the 3rd floor. Tracks snow into the Great Hall, which is illuminated by a continual flame spell. Its cold fires bathe the hall in a bluish light. 6 massive wooden tables, each one 5 feet tall, are arranged in this room. Frost giants sit around them to eat. Wooden goblets and scraps of frozen meat lie strewn across the table upon the tables, as well as underneath them. The center of the hall is the thawing carcass of a mammoth suspended on a giant wooden spit. 3 large, empty ale barrels also stand about the room. Perched on the rafters are 8 ice mephits. They watch intruders closely, but don't attack unless 1 or more of them are harmed. Okay, but why? What do they do? Whatever. So let's have the ice mephits. Changes to Svartborg. Okay. 1. Jarl's Lodge. Methods: throw snowballs at the party. Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying, David. Is like give them something. I mean, you and I are on the same page. Give them something to do, right? They're just there. They're just some methods. So they like have fun and throw snowballs. Then there you go. A methods: throw snowballs. That's the feast to all the hunting racks. Wooden racks and hooks on the western wall hold fishing equipment, dozens of harpoons, nets, and coils of rope. Curtains made of stitched walrus hide hang over doorways at the north and south ends of the east wall. Stores, crates of foodstuffs, ore storage. Man, exciting. Love it. A door in the north wall opens to a tunnel through the ice. It leads to a ledge overlooking a great ship. A wooden staircase leads along the western wall. The stairs creak if anyone climbs them, alerting the villain in Area 1E. Hold on. There's a lot of scrolling. I apologize. Ore storage is 1D. Okay, so there's the tunnel. I see. The staircase. Okay. Steward's office. This room contains a wooden table. It's okay. This is where the wizard is. Fur-clad Zentarum wizard Nilround Dalarost. Dirlost? How do you say that? Thematic ice pets. He believes that the frost giants are his best shot at obtaining the Ring of Winter. He tries to remain close to Storvald, but the frost giant Jarl won't allow Nilround to accompany him on his whale hunting expeditions. Nilround spends his idle hours contemplating how to steal the ring, while reminding the giants that the Zentarum can be a powerful ally. He knows the command word to free Cryovane, Uvenvetter, sure, and he trades his information for his life if he is subdued or cornered. More information about the captured white dragon, see the Kriegvind later in this chapter. Blonde hair, piercing blue eyes, and perpetual scowl. He's pacing the room, trying to stay warm if he hears trouble below or the sound of someone climbing the stairs. So instead, we're going to say that he is frozen in a block of ice up here. Nilround is frozen in a block of ice. Only his head visible. He begs the characters to free him, saying that he's a prisoner, Storvald, and knows much about the Ring of Winter. If freed, he helps the characters until the ring is once again visible, and at which point he betrays them. To reclaim it. Works fine for me. Winter Wolf's Den, those gnawed mammoth bones. Frost-covered barrel contains dead fish that normally sleep here are encountered in Area 1G. Icicles hang from the rafters. Bluish continual flame spells. An ivory drinking horn rests atop a frozen table in the middle of the room. South of the table are a rug made from the hide of a white saber-toothed tiger and a throne carved from ice. Lying on the seat of the throne is a large conch. See treasure. That's it? You just go get the conch? It's pretty easy. Retires here when he's not plying the northern waters. He isn't here when the characters first arrive at Svardborg. Instead, 2 frost giants and 2 winter wolves stand guard here, watching over 7 frost-covered white dragon eggs in the northeast corner of the room. Okay, and that's all fine. The giants and the wolves fight to the death. Cast spells from behind the throne until his life is at risk, then he flees. Conch of teleportation rests on the ice throne. The ivory drinking horn on the table is made from the tusk of a mammoth. It's worth 750 gold and weighs 75 pounds. A crate in the southeast corner of the room holds 100 pieces of scrimshaw packed in sawdust. Hiding in a nearby iceberg are 2 Zentarum scouts and 3 manticores. Wait, what? 3 manticores? Why are there manticores? If Nilround ever thinks his life is in jeopardy, he uses his spell scroll of sending to contact these scouts and awaits for them on the balcony. Each scout rides a manticore and provides aerial support while Nilround mounts the 3rd manticore and uses it to escape. Nilround and his escorts return to the mainland and report what they've seen. Yeah, no. That's dumb. Okay, unless you decide otherwise, the Kriegvind returns after the characters obtain the conch, but before they have time to attune to it. Fellows of the Kriegvind's crew. Obviously, there's no conch here. I don't hate the idea they're making some kind of a magic item, though. Obviously wouldn't be the ring, because he still got it. The conch of teleportation. It's not here. I'm just not doing the conch of teleportation. Like, I'll have to figure out a different way to do how to get them to Maelstrom, but I'm just having them kind of like one by one knock their way through the different giant like layers. Treasury. In this room, on the top floor of the lodge, the pitched roof, the giant owl. Jarl Storvald uses the owl to deliver messages to his fleet. If it is released, it flies off, locates the Kriegwind, and reports to Storvald what it has seen. That's cool. Characters who search the room find several wooden barrels, crates, and chests. Funny. So much. It's a bunch of stuff, right? A dismantled clockwork mule. And then a chest containing a dead, frozen shield dwarf clad in adamantine plate armor, clutching a warhammer and carrying 1d3 magic items. Ooh, I like that, David. Says maybe an invite to get the attention of the court. That's cool. I like that. That might be a smart way to do it. Imrith invites them. Yeah, that's cool. Good idea, David. You're a smart cookie, my friend. We're going to Urgrey, still to board a Frost Giant. Yeah, interesting. These rogue groups are a problem for the court. Could be. Takes 8 hours for one character to assemble the Clockwork Mule. So this is an interesting, weird item. It's like, yeah, it takes 8 hours to do it, and if they fail, then they end up with some weird leftover parts. They're like, wait a minute, I thought this was supposed to go somewhere. It's a construct. Okay. Why would you want this, though? It's so weird. Okay, 2 is Giant's Lodge. Let me look at where 2 is. Roll back up. 2 is the next one. It's this two-story one. Okay, cool. The 2-story lodge is partially buried in ice. It has 3 possible entrances. The main entrance on the ground floor, an ice tunnel leads to a door in the back wall of the lodge, and a large window on the second floor that has a great horn sticking out of it. Gathering Hall. 3 frost giants are engaged in a drinking contest in this area and are so inebriated that they are considered poisoned. Despite their present condition, they are spoiling for a fight and hoist their great axes when intruders appear. After the first round of combat, it occurs to one of the giants that she should sound the warning horn. She staggers up a flight of wooden stairs to blow the horn, Area 2C, while the other giants keep fighting. If the characters react quickly enough, they can prevent her from reaching the horn. They keep the giant from sounding the horn. The other inhabitants of Svartborg aren't placed on alert. I might also have that horn alert the Kriegvind. Giants Lodge. Giant horn also alerts Kriegvind. They each carry a sack containing some stuff. Sleeping quarters, warning horn. Made into a musical instrument. Ancient red dragon's horn, that's cool. 450 pounds. Only a frost giant or similarly sized creature can wrap its mouth around the narrow end of the horn and muster the breath needed to blow it. Yeah, you can't blow it if you're not a frost giant. That's cool. Jarl's Mess. Platter, Armory. Okay. Drydock Lodge. So that one is which one? That one is... Okay, so it's just this first floor. It just says it actually isn't that big of a place. The lodge isn't occupied when the characters first arrive. Anyone who enters can hear the sound of the North folk chipping at the ice in Area 7 and the back and forth bickering of the Frost Giant brothers in Area 9. Both ends of the lodge are exposed to the air, and its roof is intact despite the amount of ice on it. The lodge's interior is one big open space with a ceiling that stretches 80 feet above the ground floor and a 40-foot balcony with no railing that runs around the perimeter. A decrepit-looking wooden ladder with rungs spaced 5 feet apart offers access to the balcony, but the ladder crumbles under the weight of 500 pounds or more. Stacked in the corners of the room, I feel like most ladders would crumble under that weight. Most wooden ladders aren't going to hold 500 pounds. Stacked in the corners of the ground floor nearest the grotto are a dozen ale barrels the frost giants have plundered from merchant vessels. The hull of a great ship takes up most of the interior space. I think either like a barrel for a giant is like a soda can, right? It's like a beer can. The hull of a great ship takes up most of the interior space. Giant wooden braces hold the ship upright. Built the ship isn't seaworthy. Barbarian tent. Excuse me. 3 sealskin tents, barrel chute, crane, temple of Thrym. Okay, there's not really much here. 3. Of all the north-facing lodges, this is the only one that has survived more or less intact. Once a temple dedicated to Thrym, the god of the frost giants, it was recently taken over by a mated pair of white dragons who turned it into a nursery. Trapped one of the dragons inside. Statue of Thrym. The wind has carried a great deal of snow into this open room, set into the back of which is an alcove that is a 25-foot tall statue of Thrym carved from glacial ice. It's like a powerfully built male frost giant with clenched fists. Timber from broken rafters and the smashed doors lie strewn across the floor. My statue is harmless. Anyone who damages the statue is cursed. That's cool. I like that. Until the curse is lifted with a removed curse or spell of similar magic, the afflicted creature has vulnerability to cold damage. I like that. The Hall of Jarls is broken through the walls and ceiling of this hall. 4 stone alcoves that once depicted frost giant Jarls, Storvald's ancestors. They broke off the statue's heads and dropped them into the sea. Okay. Why I yawn so much when I stream? Hall of Heroes. 7 granite tablets. The name of a frost giant, a florid summary of that chief's legendary deeds. The narthex has 2 female frost giants standing guard and watch over the dragon in Area 4E. They are eager to spill blood and attack intruders on sight. Frost giant carries a sack. Bell tower. Wooden pillars rise to meet the rafters 30 feet overhead, with the pitched roof rising higher, forming an 80-foot tall bell tower with rafters of its own. Dangling from these rafters is an enormous iron bell weighing 50 tons. That's cool. Bell is missing its clapper and rope. There appears to be no way to ring it. Girl inside the bell. I'm just yawning all over the place. Is Isendraug, a female adult white dragon. She is tormented by the theft of her eggs, which the giants keep in Area 1G, and is racking her brain for a plan to get them back and to make the giants pay. She spots any party member, she crawls out of the bell's cold confines. Oh, it's inside the bell. That's cool. For some reason, my brain did not read that right. That's actually pretty cool. So bored from the written material. You're exactly right. Where's this bell? Really cool. How does she crawl out from underneath it, though? The bell's cold confines and rushes forward to destroy them, thinking they have come to plunder her hoard. She prefers to lurk among the rafters and remain out of melee weapon range while attacking with her breath weapon, blah, 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 blah. While with her, she agrees to live in exchange for returning her eggs to her. Doesn't gain lair actions and can't cause regional effects in the vicinity of her lair. She wants your mate Cryovane. And all 7 of her eggs return to her. She doesn't know where the frost giants are keeping her eggs, but she knows that they keep Cryovane chained aboard their biggest ship. Like most white dragons, Isendraug is not to be trusted. She has no intention of sparing the characters once they have done what she asks. Clever characters can hold her at bay by threatening one or more of her eggs. Isendraug flies into a murderous rage if she witnesses one of her eggs or wormlings being harmed. Isendraug is reduced to fewer than half her hit points. She tries to escape through the submerged passage, smashing through the thin ice that covers it. Once she swims to the surface of the lagoon, she takes flight and looks for a place to roost, such as a great ship or atop the iceberg. Even if her eggs are destroyed, she won't leave Svartborg until her mate is free, to see Kriegvind section later in the chapter. Okay. I think that's pretty cool. So we need to change one thing. We need to say that she is under the spell of the Temple to Thrym. Isendraug is ensorcelled by the ring, but only when it draws near. At the moment, she's held at bay by the threat posed to her eggs. If the party can negotiate with her, she will leave them alone. I think that has to make sense. If Storvald returns and gets too close to her, the ring's proximity activates his compulsion on her. She obeys his commands. Altar, saving the bones in the blood. Just coming to spill their own blood on the altar to gain Thrym's favor. Submerged passage, frozen horde. A great mound of ice covers the horde of Cryovane and Isendraug. The ice is transparent enough to see that the bulk of the horde consists of copper and silver coins, with gold coins strewn amongst them. So sealed wooden chest. Currently using a pick, can dig out the chest in 1 hour. Each hour a character spends digging for coins yields 100 coins of each type. It takes 60 hours to retrieve all the gold coins in this way. Dragon's Hoard consists of 90,000 copper pieces, 41,000 silver pieces, 6,000 gold pieces, and the aforementioned chest, which is unlocked. It contains 500 wooden coins, worthless, 30 pieces of costume jewelry, a pouch containing 20 silvered slingstones, a silver tinderbox, and a wooden scroll containing a crude treasure map drawn on a piece of walrus hide. I have like a hair on my face. Resting atop these items is a wooden pipe with a strip of parchment stuffed inside that reads in common, "Here lies the treasure of Captain Silbar Snake Eyes, legendary pirate of the Sword Coast. A hex upon any who plunders this trove." That's fun. Gimli recalls a halfling pirate of no great repute who went by this name. A character who studies the treasure map and succeeds on a DC 10 intelligence history check realizes that it depicts a stretch of the Sword Coast, encompassing the islands of Red Rocks, midway between Leyland and Waterdeep. An X marks a cove on one island. So there's a pirate treasure. That's pretty cool. I like that. High tide it hides, the moon doth make it rise. The mast points to the prize, watched by feathered brides. Feathered brides? Ooh, 2 harpies have made a nest there. That's so elaborate. I love that. That's great. There's a pirate treasure. 100%. Yeti Cave. 8 Yetis lurking at the back of the cave, rush forward to attack intruders. Fine, sure, Yetis are good. Outhouse. There's an outhouse! But there's nothing else about it, it's just an outhouse. Entombed great ship. 2 punts are anchored next to a frost-covered great ship half entombed in a wall of ice. The hull of the ship leans at a precarious angle. Relaxing in one of the punts is a lazy male frost giant who barks orders at 18 Northfolk barbarians. The Northfolk are tethered to the icy wall by ropes tied to iron spikes and are using their spears to chip away at the ice around the great ship. Meanwhile, 3 Yetis clamber across the deck and dig at the ice with their claws. The Northfolk won't throw away their spears, so only the giant has a ranged attack. The 2 punts contain chunks of ice that the giant can hurl at its foes. Fighting on the ship is tricky. Its sloped, icy deck is difficult terrain, and the creature that is secured by a rope or braced in some other way must make a DC 10 dexterity saving throw. I failed to say they tumble into the frigid water next to the ship. Let me look at the angle there. So I'm trying to figure out like what angle it's at. That's 7. Sorry if this slows me down. Okay, so yeah, it's kind of at a weird angle. Interesting. That's cool. A nice little encounter. Excuse me. 80 feet below the water surface is a tunnel that leads up through the iceberg to Area 4G. White dragons use this tunnel to access their lair. Anyone with a passive wisdom perception of 14 or higher spot the submerged tunnel as they cross or fly over the lagoon. From above, it looks like the opening where the side of the iceberg meets the floor of the lagoon. Great ships. 2 seaworthy great ships are anchored in the lagoon, each one tied by a thick rope to a massive iron spike pounded into the ice. A 15-foot wide wooden gangplank allows creatures to board and disembark safely. One frost giant guards each ship. The horn hasn't sounded. The brothers are throwing ice at each other. It's fun. When the characters approach, if they detect intruders, they hurl chunks of ice at them instead. There's treasure, crate of soap, casks of wine, spellbook, and the Kriegwind. Turns when the characters obtain the conch of teleportation in Storvald's throne room, but before a character has time to attune to it, or at any time of your choosing. Too big to fit into Svartborg's lagoon, the ship drops anchor next to the iceberg, south of the Jarl's Lodge, and within view of the docks, south of the Dry Dock Lodge. The Kriegwind requires a crew of at least 20 giants. It can hold up to 40 giants, plus 1,000 tons of cargo. The Kriegwind has Jarl Storvald plus a crew of 20 frost giants. 4 operate the ballistae, 1 trims the sails, 1 controls the rudder, and 14 pull the oars. Chained to the deck is Cryovane, a male adult white dragon. Behind the dragon are 20 empty holds where prisoners, slain whales, and stolen goods are kept. Storvald is returning angry for not having caught a single whale, but that anger intensifies when he realizes that Svartborg has been invaded. If the giant owl in Area 1H escaped, Storvald and has warned him. Oh, I see. It accompanies Storvald and has warned him. My brain jumped. Warned him of intruders in Svartborg. Otherwise, the Jarl and his crew become aware of intruders only after finding evidence of such or hearing the sound of the horn in Area 2C. Obvious targets in sight. God, that's a big boat. Holy shit. Look at the size of that thing. That's pretty cool. Jarl Storvald is a frost giant. He has a bloodstone bolted to a 50-pound iron chain that he wears around his neck. He's common giant and giant owl. Great. He wears the helm of Svartborg, a copper helm fitted with red dragon horns. Cool. Dragon in chains. Cryovane is chained to the deck. He is restrained. Secured to an iron collar around his neck. 2 more chains secure his back legs. Creature can use a bonus action on its turn to magically release the 4 chains by speaking command word, Uvenfetter. While within 60 feet of the dragon, only Storvald and Nilround know the command word. A knock spell or similar can unlock a single collar, and a creature can break a single chain by using an action and succeeding on a DC 27 strength athletics check by reducing the chain to 0 hit points. Blah blah blah. Freeze the dragon if the Kriegwind is boarded or if the ship is attacked from the air. The Jarl commands the dragon to fight as his ally. While Storvald has the dragon's mate and eggs as prisoner, Cryovane does as the Jarl commands. So yeah, instead I think he just has him commanded. Kriegwind. Cryovane is under Jarl Storvald's command as long as he wields the Ring of Winter. It's over 500 feet long, 200-foot tall mast, 500 feet long. Giant ballistae holds treasure. Pendant of the Vind rune. Okay, that's it. So yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty simple. I think they get back there, they discover that no one is there, right? I could see there being more of a plot line of Harshnag trying to find sympathetic giants. So maybe let's do that. Because they're with Harshnag, I would like them to find some people that they could potentially recruit to his cause, right? So let's maybe come up with like a little bit of the Frost Giant politics here. That there are some people who support him and some people that don't. And it's about finding the right allies. And he would probably give them some sense of that. So like, Giants of Svartborg. Do a little header here. I'm going to get some water maybe, and then we will tackle that. So, Giants of Svartborg. Okay. I'm going to grab some water. I'll be back in like 2 minutes. Be right back, everybody. Hey everybody, I'm back. Thanks for your patience. Alright, we're going to talk about some frost giants. So one thing that I think is interesting that we've not really dealt with in the campaign is this idea of, like, what kind of a Jarl was Harshnag? Like, was he any good? Was he a good Jarl or a bad Jarl? Like, when he... Oh, shoot, I poured some water and then I left it over there. Oh my gosh, I'm a moron. Poured it. I poured it. I forgot to bring it. So was he a good Jarl? Was he a bad Jarl? Like, I don't really know what his politics were, right? Like, obviously the instinct is to say that, like, Storvald is an evil Jarl who's bad, and that Harshnag was a good Jarl who's fair, right? But I don't necessarily think that things are that simplistic. So what was Harshnag's rule like? How would the other giants feel about it? You know, if they're restoring this guy to his throne, then there has to be some question about whether or not he deserves that throne, you know? I'm really not using canon Forest Grey Harshnag. He is basically just a giant with that same name. He's not a bad guy, definitely. Like, I don't, like... He was kind of one of the first examples. It was him and Zephyros are sort of the two examples of giants that they interact with that are demonstrably their allies, right? Like, they came to terms with Caelithia. They did not come to terms with Guh, right? And they view the fire giants also as being evil. But the fire giants, again, it's more complex than that. So I don't think it's definitely not canon Forest Grey Harshnag. I don't know anything about Forest Grey. But he's, you know, brave and bound by his duty. The giants in my setting, the ordning is less of a thing. I use the term to refer to, like, the kind of Norse concept of fate. That the ordning is sort of what the Norns weave for you. It's what all giants are bound by fate, whereas, you know, other people like humanoids and dragons and stuff aren't, but giants are. Well, they believe that they are. So Harshnag is the Jarl, I think, you know, because he assumed that that was his right and that was what the Norns had woven for him. Maybe that's part of it, right? Like Harshnag. Harshnag, he was the Jarl because he was prophesied to be the Jarl as a young man. Prophesied to be the Jarl as a young giant. It never occurred to him that he'd ever lose his throne, but when he did, he considers it an abomination against his ordning. This makes him somewhat entitled, believing that he deserves the throne even when he maybe doesn't. So I don't think it's that he doesn't deserve it necessarily. I think it's that he assumes that he does, and that there's, like, some things that he needs to kind of address or come to terms with, right? Storvald cheated, yes, but he had supporters amongst the giants. Harshnag, at the time of his expulsion, at the time of his exile, was unpopular. The question is why, right? Like, what is Harshnag's, like, big thing? Was it he was because, like, I think the obvious villain move, right, is to say that, like, he was complacent, you know, he was too comfortable, and that Storvald is going to bring new cold to the north, right, and going to expand and conquer. And that's definitely what Storvald is clearly doing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the problem of that doesn't necessarily mean that the, like, Harshnag's problem is that he wasn't doing that, right? He was, because, like, he's not overly proud. He's not, like, you know, arrogant. He's just kind of like a big simpleton. Like, he's there and he knows things about giants, but he doesn't know things about other people. and he kind of asks, like, is it time to hit it with my axe? Then there you go, right? So you could say that they're stagnant, right? That, like, he made a number of bad decisions or whatever, but, like, how much of the politics do we want to get into, right? Like, is he a poor ruler in the sense that he doesn't know how to provide for his people, right? He's not a great whaler. He's an okay warrior. Harshnag was an uninspired. It's almost like he's almost like Hillary Clinton or something, right? Where it's like he's the insider, he's the one that you assume is going to be good at it, right? But he's been doing it forever and things aren't getting any better, you know? He was an uninspired Jarl. Yeah, a lame duck is a good way to put it. Hey, what's up, Nuker Wolf? I don't want him to come across as like he's too kind, right? It's not like a Tars Tarkas thing where he's just like he's nice and gentle, and that's why they don't like him. I think it's got to be that he's boring, right? He's an uninspired Jarl, a lame duck. He didn't galvanize the people the way that Storvald does. Oh, sorry, that's my alarm. So sorry. Did not realize that was still up. Silly. 3 o'clock. Okay. That Storvald does. I'm kind of thinking like Euron Greyjoy, you know, in Game of Thrones, where it's like this guy's obviously bad for Storvald, right? This guy's obviously bad, but he like gets people excited. Storvald promised new conquests, more whaling, more prosperity. Harshnag's rule was stagnant and complacent. Yeah, it's just complacency. Complacent. Okay, so then that means that there are some giants, Storvald's supporters, that like there are some giants obviously that still support him and some giants that support Harshnag, right? So let's look at the giants that we have in here. We've got there are 3 giants on the ships, right? 1, 2, 3. There are 2 giants in the temple. 3 giants on the ships, 3 giants on the ships. Two giants in the temple. Or what? 2 giants in the Jarl's Lodge. And the throne room. There are 3 in the Giant's Lodge. The lodge, where's the around throne room? Has 2 and 2. Okay. 2 giants in the throne room. That's what? Did we say it was 8? Because that's more than that. It's 10. 3 plus 3 is 6. Plus 2 is 8. Plus 2 is 10. There are 10 giants here. So you could do like an even split, right? You could say that most of them are, and half of them are Storvald and half of them are Harshnag. I kind of think it's like 2 and 2, 2 definite allies, 2 definite enemies, and then everyone else is kind of in the middle, right? They could go either way. And so every time they meet a giant, it's less about fighting the giant and it's more about convincing the giant to side with them. Right? And some of them can't be convinced and some of them can be. So if we say that, maybe we do like it's an inertia thing. We say that like 4 of the 10 are dyed-in-the-wool Storvald supporters. And then we say that you know, 2 of the 10 are Harshnag supporters. And so then you end up with, like, there are more Storvald supporters for sure, and he's got his whole ship. And the question basically then is, can Harshnag convince these giants, you know, one by one, that he's a good king? And if he can't, like, some of them he definitely can't, right? 4 of them he cannot, right? But and 2 of them he doesn't have to, but then the rest of them, if it's like 4 and 2 is 6, there's 4 giants that are kind of in play. It also then creates a more interesting scenario if he's able to challenge Storvald to a Holmgang, right? Like, when the ship comes back with all 20 giants, there's no way the party can fight that many giants, right? Presumably they would just try to escape, but that's not their goal here. Their goal is to have Harshnag take over. So it's about, how does Harshnag learn about himself as a ruler, and how does he improve, and how does he challenge Storvald's supremacy, right? Okay, so we're going to say 4 of them are his supporters. He's got 4 diehard supporters. And I like the idea that they're kind of spread out, that they aren't all together, right? It's like, this is the room with all of his supporters in it. It's that, like, everyone nominally supports Storvald, but when Harshnag shows up, there are at least 2 people who, 2 diehard supporters. Oh yeah, they definitely help him make the case. Nukerwolf asks him, how can the players help? The players are there to, like, assist him and to, like, roll insight and figure out, you know, what's the best argument here, you know, how do we do this, how do we do that? But, like, they're here for Harshnag, right? So it's like it's about him as a king, and them realizing that maybe he's not the best king, and how can they help him become a better one? Like, if Harshnag doesn't know how to advocate for himself, then it falls to the party to advocate for him, right? I think that's more interesting than just hacking and slashing their way through these giants. Okay, so Storvald has 4 diehard supporters. Of the giants that we have, I kind of want to put 1 in every location that there are giants, right? So, like, 1G, the throne room has 1, at least. The Giant's Lodge has 1. It has and then the Temple of Thrym. And then the ships. Right? Like, I don't want there to be anybody that you can just convince outright. I mean, maybe it's more interesting if you spread them out. You say, like, the Temple of Thrym, the one's guarding the dragon. Or maybe the 2 guarding the eggs? Yeah, I think the 2 guarding the eggs are both Died of the Will supporters. So then, like, nobody on the ships maybe is worth it. Giant's Lounge is interesting if one of the giants here, because this is where the horn is, right? Yeah, okay. So there's 1 giant. So name. Both of these 2 were Died in the Wool. So you can't get to the eggs or the throne without fighting. Like, they're just not gonna listen. Giant's Lodge has 1. Temple of Thrym has 1. Like, I like the idea that those 2, because they're 2 female giants. I like the idea that they're 2 giantesses. I like the idea that they're both sisters, and one of them feels one way, and one of them feels the other way, right? Now, where are Harshnag's 2 supporters? We want it. I like the ships having 1, because there isn't anyone else on the ships. Maybe the lazy guy. Yeah, I like that. The ships have 1. Name. And then, do we want to say the other sister in the Temple of Thrym? Yeah, I like that. Okay, so I'm going to pull up some Old Norse names here, and we're going to get some cool names. Old Norse names. Female. Let's see. The 2 Frost Giants in 1G. Control F is 1G. Throne room. 2 frost giants and 2 winter wolves. So we actually don't know genders here. Both male. Okay. Norse male names. Thor, Balder, Odin. Yeah, I don't think so. There's a Nordic name website that's pretty good. You know what? I might do that later. I'll do names later. So let's talk about these people individually, though. So both of the 2 in the throne room, we're gonna say Throne 1 and Throne 2. Throne 1 and Throne 2 are both dyed in the wool for Storvald. Are they Storvald's family? Because if it's a clan, right, you have a lot of, like, yeah, maybe they're Storvald's brothers. Storvald's younger brothers. Both of them are Storvald's younger brothers. Both of them are ostensibly, I like this, are ostensibly, both of them are opposed to Harshnag. Opposed to Harshnag. One of them resents Storvald, seeing him as an obstacle to his own rule, but would thusly never support Harshnag anyway. Fee, fi, and fum, yeah. Anyway, Storvald's younger brothers, both of them are opposed to Harshnag. One of them is deathly loyal. One of them, the younger brother, is undyingly loyal to Storvald, never having been considered for the position. Like, he's the younger brother. There's no way he was gonna ever be the Jarl, even though that's not exactly how it works, but you understand. Okay, so then Giant's Lodge is, because this is what they did when they went to Deadstone Cleft with the Stone Giants. The minute that they realized that the Stone Giants believed that they were in some kind of a vision, then they're like, we don't have to kill any more of these Stone Giants. We're just going to talk to all of them. We're going to kind of wake them up. So I feel confident that they're going to want to try to talk to them, especially if Harshnag knows all of these giants. Oh, shoot. Go back. I don't want to look at a Stone Frost Giant. I want to go to that page. 2A. Gathering Hall. 1 male and 2 females are engaged in a drinking contest in this area and are so inebriated. So one of these, let's see, if it's 3, then it's the female. Nope, it's one of the men. Is a Storvald supporter who tries to go and blow the horn. We're gonna say Lodge 1. Is one of them not drunk? Yeah, the only giant that takes their job seriously. The only giant that takes their job seriously. This giant isn't that drunk, unlike his 2 companions. When the party attacks, especially in the presence of Harshnag, he runs to blow the horn. He follows orders regardless of who gives them. Yeah, so kind of like almost like a parliamentarian, right? Someone who's there to do it because that's what should be done. Okay, and then lastly we have we're gonna say Temple 1. So it's a female giant. I don't like of course my immediate instinct is that, like, you know, it's Storvald's wife or they have a crush on Storvald, but that feels very like sexist because you're saying that, like, you know, they can't have a more nuanced opinion about it. What if it's that they like the warlike nature, right? Like they admire, yeah. She admires the warlike nature of Storvald, thinking Harshnag a coward. She's a fearsome warrior, but resents being left behind to guard the dragon. Cool. So then the opposite, Temple 2, doesn't like the dragons. Like, she feels conflicted about, she objects to keeping the dragon like this, worried that it'll backfire and that it's wrong. She would prefer Harshnag's gentler rule than Storvald's ambitious one. And then, yeah, I think similarly here, ship 1, Harshnag was chill. Get it? He was chill. Storvald wants all this work done. I mean, maybe part of his thing is that, like, Harshnag's thing is that he, Svardborg kind of went to shit under his reign. Frozen over. Many of the lodges unlivable now. The decay is his fault, right? The decay is his fault. Yeah, that's cool. Because that kind of plays into this idea of Storvald kind of cleaning up shop. Once all this work done, what a bother. This guy would much rather lay around and do nothing. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. So then instead of go and come up with names for them, and then when he meets them, he can know this person, that person, that person. And then most of the rest of them are neutral. They could kind of go either way, right? Like they're sort of going with the flow at the moment. Yeah, I think that might be it. Honestly, what I might want to do with the rest of my time that I've allocated for this is just open up Roll20 and get working on these maps, because that's the thing that always takes the most time. But that's probably not a great thing to do here on the stream. So I might call it there. Only like an hour 15, but ooh, he went against Fate, so it's his fault. Ooh, no Nuker Wolf. I like that. That's cool. Storvald went against Fate. Oh, you're saying Harshnag went against Fate. Yeah. Harshnag went against Fate. Did he go against his fate? Did he go against his fate? Is that why the Berg has decayed? Cool. Yeah, all right, great. So thank you for coming, everybody. I think we're gonna call it there. That is our stream today. I'm gonna go put in 45 minutes or so on the yeah, either way is good. Thanks for your suggestion, Nicole. I'm gonna go put in some work on the Roll20 for this, because I gotta get this ready for Friday when I run it. But a big thanks to everyone who came out and chatted with me, mainly David and Nukerwolf. Thanks for being here, folks. I really got to get more consistent with this streaming. You know, I would like to be doing it every week, but just sometimes my schedule gets in the way, or I'm so behind on other things that I can't do it, and it's just a big pain in the butt. But if you liked this stream, please stay tuned. There'll be more coming your way soon. Specifically, today, I wasn't sure if we would go all the way to 4. Clearly we didn't. But at 4 p.m., we will be launching, I'll be dropping the next episode of my new series, Previously On, which is a Matt Colville-style campaign diary, where we kind of go through the campaign that I'm running each week and talk about how it's going and sort of do a recap show. That drops at 4 p.m. Go check that out. That'll be right here on YouTube. I will actually post a link here in the chat. It doesn't drop until 4, but if you want to pop that open, you know, while you're at work or doing whatever, then you'll be with us when it goes live as a premiere at 4 o'clock. But otherwise, if you liked this video, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Please make sure that you have liked the video, whether you're watching it now, whether you're watching it on VOD. You can find me on Twitter at ProDMTimothy. You can find me on Patreon. That's what makes these streams possible, are the support of incredible patrons like David here in the chat. But we'll be back on Thursday, I believe, for a Monster Workshop stream. I think we're going to do the Demi-Lich, which should be cool. That's an exciting, complicated, interesting monster. That's going to be a fun one to do on Thursday at 2 p.m. So come and check that one out if you have a chance. But otherwise, until then, until 4, hopefully swing by the YouTube channel and watch our next episode of Previously On. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and happy adventuring, as always.